Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day. I just wanted to talk a little bit about who I am and what I am doing. I wanted to talk about a name real quick that you guys have possibly heard me talk about in the past, named Yehohanan. It ties into Jehovah, but I'm going to explain why I'm not giving you any names of gods or anything. Jehovah is the same thing as basically Yahweh. It's I am that I am, or I am that I will be, or I am the one that is. So the name Yehohanan, you guys should look that name up, whether you use the Y or J. There wasn't a Y, there wasn't a J back then, I believe, according to history and text. There was Y's. And so there was a man named Yehohanan. The interesting thing about this man is that he was crucified. He was the only man found crucified. Well, the thing about that is how that ties into everything I've been talking about is that he was a Jewish man, and it was during the first century, which means it could have possibly been the event moment. Now, the reason I say that is because there are a bunch of different people written in history. You've got John the Baptist, you've got Yohanan ben Zakkai or whoever. I don't know if that was the man, but there's a bunch of people with the name Yohanan or Yehanan. So you guys will notice that my name is Yehanan. Well, you actually notice it's JB6, but it's Yehanan also. That's because my name is Juan Bruce, and Juan and John are basically the same name. It's just Juan is the Spanish version. I don't believe I am Spanish. I believe I'm African American, and come to find out, apparently I'm Polish, so part Jewish, I believe. I'm going to have to look more into that and do my own independent research. But the reason I want to talk about the name Yehohanan is because according to writing and scholars, Yehohanan means I am gracious. So essentially it means Yah gracious. So Yah is gracious. But the reason I'm saying Yah is gracious, but that is grammatically incorrect, is because Yah is I am. So it's I am gracious. The reason I chose Yehanan is because that's the Juan's version of the Hebrew name Yehanan. So the reason I like that name is because I am, you are gracious. You know what I mean? If the world, when I talk on camera a lot of times, I believe a lot of people are using religion to guide their thoughts, to manipulate their thoughts, to possess their thoughts. And so when I use the words possession and manipulation, I'm not attacking or saying that you're like evil or anything like that. I'm just saying, essentially, you get feelings sometimes, or certain words or thoughts come to your mind that might possibly guide you to telling you that I am evil. But when I talk a lot of times in my videos, the reason I'm using the Bible as a base subject to talk about, and the reason I'm guiding you all in certain directions, is because I wouldn't be able to talk if I did not. And I'm gonna give you an example. When I first started making videos, I was just basically talking on camera. I was talking and talking to people, and everybody kept talking about the Lord Jesus Christ guides, or they kept giving different, like, you know, the different religious sects. They would say certain things to me. It's minding my business, because a part of me, now when I say this word, I'm not atheist, because I'm going to explain why I'm not atheist. For a while I was. And when I say I was, I perhaps partly was, because I always believed in a God. Now, when I say I always believed in a God, I've told you all before, I was raised in a church. So I had different preachers, I had the prophets, I had the book, I had Jesus, I had Moses, all that stuff. But I always gave my 100 to God. I never understood the concept of Jesus being God. And so as time went on and I started to break away from Christianity, or whatever it was, we were called the Church of God or whatever, Children of God. As I began to break away, I started being atheist. I started not really believing in religion like that. But when I say that, a person can say they're atheist, but deep on the inside, I still had that paranoid fear of, oh, am I going to go to hell? Oh, Where is he out there looking? If there's a lightning storm, could I be struck by lightning? Are the clouds going to open up and somebody with a huge face and a red robe coming down with a sword to start killing people? You know what I mean? I had those fears and those thoughts in my mind. You know what I mean? Terrified. About the certain ghosts and spirits in the dark and stuff like that. I believed, like a lot of people, especially when I was younger, in those like ghosts and stuff, like there are demons in the closets and different things like that. So as I got older, I grew out of a lot of that stuff, but there were still certain things that remained. Possibly sometimes I'd have had nightmares and night terrors and different things like that. But I said all that because I basically wanted to talk about the idea of I am gracious and mercy and peace and kindness. You know, as I've said before, when I talk on camera, people a lot of times put religion into it, but that's not my goal. I'm trying to speak to the hearts of man. I'm trying to speak to the hearts of women. I'm trying to talk to people to give them a new spirit, so to speak. When I say that, I'm not trying to possess you. I can only ever talk. And what happens is who you are, give those words either life or you attack them and rebuke them. That's why a lot of times when people attack me in my comments, you know what I mean? I may get upset on the inside, but over time, the spirit guides me righteously. Over time, I start to think, critically think, and then I begin to realize that it is foolish to get upset over certain things. I may at times want to be super egotistical and say like the smartest thing and be like, oh, look what he just said. But in the end, it's all vain. And then I could end up striking myself for what? So when I say that, I'm not telling people that like, it's like, oh, don't, nobody can argue and you have to do this and that and all these other things. If you understand what I'm truly saying, I'm saying that you are the one that chooses and decides everything. Back to the name Yehohanan. So to me, that name, so you can say Yohanan, right? Or you could say Yehanan, or you could say Yehohanan, because that would be the original name. And Yohanan and Yehanan are shorter versions of that. To me, that is saying, I am, you are gracious, because yeah, to me, it's like in the Bible, it says you, yeah, ye, or whatever. Some people say ye, but I'm going yeah. Yeah, to me would be you. So my name is saying you are gracious. With the name Yohanan, that would be saying I am gracious. And so if I look at the name Yehohanan, that to me, that is what that is saying. I am, you are gracious. I am who you are. I am who I am. So that's just the name though. So that's a lot of times when I see people in religion, they glorify names. There's this one group of people and they say this long name before they start talking every time they preach. And you can do whatever you want. In ideology, and I've told you all before, I am all things. I am. And so the idea of being set apart is changing who I am. So I'll give you an idea. You look in the Bible and you see two sets of twins, or you see a bunch of different brothers, and then for some reason the first brother loses a birthright and then the second brother. So I'm going to conceptualize like I was talking before. Let's say you have Jacob and Esau, right? And I didn't know they were twins at first. That's crazy to me, which is strange because if they're twins, that means they would look alike. So the idea, whatever. So you have twins, Jacob and Esau. So the idea of it is, let's say they may have actually happened, but I'm going to give you food for thought. Let's say I am a follower of Israel, right? I'm a follower of Israel and whatever he was preaching or whatever his religion was at the time. So now I am the next one in line. I'm following his word. So let's say I'm his wife, so to speak. His spirit lives inside because I am following him and that's my husband, so to speak. So then let's say I give birth to something. Let's say I give birth to a teaching or an idea or a people, right? So now I give rise to the Esauians. So for a better example, let's say Jesus, right? Let's say Jesus was your prophet and you're his bride, right? And now you he lives inside of you and is doing all this stuff and getting to know you. So now you're giving birth to something, right? So now you give birth to a group of people called the Baptists, right? So now then another Christian comes forth, a part of the same bride, because you're all the same woman. See how that works? You're all the same woman. If you're following Jesus, you're the bride. So now you come along, right? And perhaps you write all this law and all this word. All right. So now you're the prophet coming on behalf of Jesus, and you give all this word and law. So now later on in history or life, you give birth to a group of people called the Baptists, Baptist Revolutionary Church, whatever. But then there's another group of people and like, no, we don't want to be Baptists. So then you give rise to evangelicans. So now you have the evangelicans and the Protestants or the Baptists, whatever. Now let's say the Baptists or the evangelicans go completely corrupt and they're out of this world, just mad corrupt. So I would be saying my firstborn or my child was corrupt in my sight or in the Lord's sight, because you're just the woman, right? So the Lord is now deciding out here. And so now all these people are corrupt. So everybody's like, ooh, no, we don't like that. That's corrupt. That's corruption. Ooh, who I am doesn't follow that. But then they see the Baptists and they're like, oh, yeah, that's legit. There, what's up? We're going to follow that. That we respect him. And that's our true group of people. So back to the idea, we'll use John the Baptist as an example, right? Let's say John the Baptist was filled with the righteous spirit. So he would be considered Mary, right? So then he was filled with the spirit of the Most High or whatever God. So then he was the bride and the guy was leading him, the husband. So then all of a sudden, some king from the earth sees John the Baptist and his teachings, right? And he goes, oh man, I really like this guy. So then he makes John the Baptist a king or something. So then all of a sudden, a lady comes out of here, will say, a new person that's following this king who told them to follow John the Baptist is like, no, we don't like that. We don't like these laws, and gets him beheaded. So now this new prophet comes forth and gives all this random law and creates a man, God, Messiah out of John the Baptist. Are you be able to conceptualize what I'm saying with some of these philosophies and teachings? That is a deeper way of saying John the Baptist came with the righteous spirit. They didn't like what he was saying, so they had him murdered, right? So then after he was murdered, they took his religion or his sayings and they killed the spirit also and turned it into murder once again. We'll call it the false prophets. So a lot of this, if it is confusing, please leave comments and let me know, and I can try to get you to understand what I'm saying with certain things. When I say these things, these aren't concrete teachings. These are spiritual things to help you understand what's happening. So ultimately, we'll say, look at Cain and Abel, right? We'll say Adam was the first prophet to ever be raised. So maybe we'll say Adam came out of Egypt, right? Egypt was a beautiful garden and a beautiful place and a beautiful civilization, right? The first man or prophet, whoever did all this. Then later on, a man named Pharaoh, right? Because if the serpent is a spirit and it's inside of the woman, that means the flesh is giving rise to something. So then we'll say a Pharaoh who came later, who follows whatever the first prophet is saying, but he's like, ooh, now I'm going to be God. I'm going to make all these laws. They're going to follow me, 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 me. Did I really say that you're not supposed to do this? Follow me, I am the God. And then what Pharaoh gives birth to out of that, his firstborn would be a murderous person. But then the secondborn would be passion. So Pharaoh had passion, murder, murder, murder. But then the secondborn, so the firstborn would be the murderous part of Pharaoh, or the murderous part of that kingdom. And the secondborn would be the passion, Abel. So then if you look at that even further, hey, what's up? Hello. So then if you look at that even further, you will say that, so then we will call that a group of people, we'll say the Canaanites, right? And then we'll call the second group of people Abelians, right? So then those people or we'll call the second set of people Hebrews, just for the sake of argument. So the Canaanites, right? The Canaanites would have been murdering people to follow out the law. They would have been following after their father's kingdom, murder for the law. But then the second born would have been teaching to sacrifice a part of myself, sacrifice the firstborn of the flock, right? So the first thing I give birth to is what? Murder and violence. It was even written that mankind goes to evil continually. So then I sacrifice what I gave rise to, and now that is pleasing to who I am, and now I am more righteous. I'm giving off a righteous spirit because I sacrificed the firstborn of the flock. If the firstborn of the flock is Cain, he's technically being the one that's sacrificed, and that's why he's wrought. So if the spirit of murder is in a bunch of different people, they will want to hurt other people who would seem more righteous because it makes them upset on the inside. So look at what happened between Moses and John the Baptist. Moses and John the Baptist are the anointed ones. They're the righteous ones. Don't get me wrong. They're not no higher than anybody else. I'm just giving symbols. So, but what happened with Moses? He broke the covenants and then wrote a huge law. So he's the bread bearer. When he bore the bread later on in life, what he gave birth to was murder for the law. Then when the second born came, Abel or John the Baptist or different prophets, right? Whenever the second born would come, because they were set apart from the firstborn, murder for the law, they would get murdered in the field, the different prophets and people who were sacrificed. And so then you would have people coming later in the name, right? So I will call them Sethinians. You can call me Seth. Here I am. And they began to call on the name of the Lord. I am who I am. I am is the Messiah, because nobody can teach you anything if who you are on the inside, who you are, who I am, doesn't coincide with the information and knowledge. If who you are is picking up murderous words, the word is who I am. If who you are is picking up murderous words, you're now Eve, and you're giving birth to children in the serpent's kingdom, sort of speak, if that makes sense. The only way you can be set apart from this, okay, I don't like saying things like that because I'm creating cages. To be set apart from this, circumcise the heart. I will give basically a little 2 stones at the end of this. I will call it the law and the prophets. And that's basically a guideline to stay away from Pharaoh's kingdom. When I say Pharaoh's kingdom, I'm not talking about Egyptians. Don't be racist. I'm talking about murderous spirits from the days of old that have come through our forefathers to kill for the law, to persecute for the law, to attack people based on their beliefs. It's not true. Everything comes from the imagination first. And what you all are basically doing is adding to the law of Moses over and over and over, adding to Jesus over and over and over. So I'll give you another ideology, Judah. Okay, look at Judah, like the story of with Judah and Tamar, right? At first, Judah gave birth to a firstborn that was murderous, so then it was taken away. Then the secondborn was to give a child, but it spilled its seed everywhere, so then that was taken away. The thirdborn didn't want to go, so Judah was like, I'll do it myself, right? So I'll give you an example. The law of Moses was too murderous, so they was like, nope. Then you have what happened with John the Baptist. His seed was spilled, right? So now everybody's talking about their Messiah everywhere, and they're not paying attention, and they're trying to raise man gods. So then he was slew, sort of speak. What do they say? Christianity's too violent stuff. So then the thirdborn, what's everybody doing? Going to Judaism? But Judah's like, nope, you're not taking that out the equation. So then what happens? Then you have what is Tamar, you have Tamar, right? And she's having the twins. So then you have the word and the spirit, so to speak. They had the seal and the walking staff. So then if you look at this righteously, Judah's 2 actual children, it's the word and the spirit, so to speak. So then it's a rebirth of the first 2 children, so to speak, but through a different woman. So if and the secondborn or whoever was slain, then they were reborn through the woman, the Canaanites. So that's just a strange way of saying that. So then you could look at me and John the Baptist as the 2 children that were born with the scarlet ribbon that was pulled back, sort of speak. So what we are doing is we are trying to give birth to something. And it is coming through a Canaanite woman, is it not? He had to go through the law of Moses and whatnot, and I have to go through Christianity, which is pure Canaanitism, if that makes sense. That is just, I'm not saying Canaanites are evil. That's a reference to give forth to something. So I am basically trying to give forth the Spirit, and he gave forth the word, or vice versa, whichever. People will say, I'm John the Baptist resurrected. I don't believe in resurrections unless you let words live inside and give them life, so to speak. That is the only way I can conceptualize that. I do not like to give rise to the magicianship, the wizards, the soothsayers, the channelers, all that. I'm not saying, I am basically saying that can cause confusion. And so I stand on the stone, the circumcision, so to speak. Love who I am with all your heart and your neighbor as yourself, and then the world will be a better place. You guys keep playing with magic and you're going to keep lighting yourselves on fire, so to speak, or drowning in the river that the Pharaoh is even spitting out of his mouth. I'm telling you, all this law comes from Egypt and a lot of these different magical stories. You guys are ignoring different laws, righteous laws, for the magic and the stories. You're storytellers, soothsayers, so to speak. And so I am gracious, though. I'm not going to come stoning you guys. I am trying to exemplify a new way. So I hope that can be of edification. If any of that was too confusing for you to understand, then ignore that and listen to what I'm about to tell you. I am the way. I am the light. My flesh is the bride to what I am on the inside, so to speak. That is just a certain way. So take that away. You are who you are. The words that you let live inside give rise to the spirit that you have. So if you read a bunch of words saying these people are evil, you're going to then go attack those people, because then you're going to be a warrior for whatever God that you create. Be set apart from that and live your life and use different words to live and be righteous, so to speak. Use them to live. Help yourself live. Use the sword to attack the darkness, not other people.